I made a mistake. Let me just confess it. I made a mistake.
You did?
Yeah, I made a mistake. In looking at the in the manifesto, and I tried to do that before I go. I saw one page which talked about a landing site. I didn't go further to see. But in any event, even with the mistake, I think still we have to rethink a lot of things. We can't have a harbour in Elmina. We have a harbour in Elmina, which is being developed right now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Takoradi, Elmina. Then we have another one projected for Cape Coast before we go further down the road. I think some rethinking has to go on for us to be able to find what is the value for money arrangements that would. But it was a mistake, and I have to apologize to the people of Cape Coast and the Central Region for that mistake. But presidents are human.
After all.
They're not Superman. They make mistakes.
Well, so that settles it for now. I'm sure that will
have abandoned the road projects that we came to head. It's difficult.
How about the E-blocks?
Many of them. I think I'll find an opportunity to send you that many of them are being worked on across the country.
Let me just take one, Mr. President. The one in Aflao where the chief himself has complained. Aflao patches E-block no oba yenya hoshi. Inti my education minister up to February say ombe yehu bibi. It's an
minister ultimatum.
Also, I
don't go yet.
Inti obisa no then maybe out of frustration maybe your casa.
When as much as possible. I've given you these examples to let you see that, on the contrary, despite the propaganda, because one of the things that I suspect there's a deficit on our part is our ability to counter the propaganda. The propaganda takes over the reality of so many aspects of our national life. It's a pity, but we'll continue.
Yeah, about hospitals, as I mean, Agenda 111, how realistic and feasible is it? It is. Ibiaka say, you prepare your hododo. Agenda 111, idea near good. Enka gradualist approach, you better. Ebia, you be 20. Na, ye disikani na kwa shawa ye. Nia nekakaka, but ye ni na no. Ebia ni niska. We are spreading ourselves too thin.
The capacity within the public sector, joined up with the private sector, is there to carry out the project. I don't have any doubt about it. And the people who have been mobilized here by the very much on point. Across the country, the processes for the development of these hospitals are ongoing. We made a commitment that by the end of next year, these hospitals will be in place, and I'm confident from what I've seen of the preparation.
We're not biting more than we can chew?
I don't believe so. I think that it will be a big achievement, and I think it will also be an achievement which will give confidence to our people that we're capable of large-scale infrastructural projects. We, Ghanaians, all the people involved. Some of the contractors will have a foreign contact, but the professionals who are manning this, architects, surveyors, all of them.
Mr. President, don't you think that your enthusiasm, energy, and drive when it comes to Agenda 111 is probably bigger than the reality on the ground?
I don't believe so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. There are one or two places where we're having problems predictably, and it's part of the issues that we factored in about land acquisition and land rights. Mm-hmm. Those are inevitable aspects in our country with the land tenure system that it has. But overall, and I believe that of the 111, something like 88 or 89 are going. They're a handful. The actual clearing of sites and putting in the basic foundations are already started. The whole thing has been divided into groups.
Mm-hmm.
Different groups are responsible both as architects, as consultants, and contractors for particular lots of the hospitals. So it isn't as if it is one particular contractor or one group of architects who are doing in the mall. On the contrary, we're mobilizing across a broad front and bringing together a lot of skills and expertise together to do the project. And I think that this is the kind of project that should be done in this way. Yeah, because it's always difficult. Why does somebody have and somebody doesn't? This thing, what happened was when the COVID, at the very beginning, when we didn't know exactly the trajectory of the hospital, of the COVID, was when I asked for an audit to be conducted as to where the health sides and in the country were. That's when came this information, the initial information that there were 88 districts in Ghana that they didn't have any district hospitals. I am Shishepa. I got frightened. Said that if this disease is the national, the global, and national perspective that there are to it, and that there are nearly 90 districts out of the 200 odd 60 districts that don't have access to a district hospital. It means that the people in those areas, if this disease spreads to them, are truly threatened. And when the result of the order was brought to me, to be honest, my heart was really, really thumping away. I got scared. I said, hey, it's a BBC this disease is this pervasive pandemic, which we are told it is that kind of food people who bet you. Fortunately, first of all, it didn't turn out to be the case. The pandemic continued to be focused on our two major urban concentrations.
And Kumasi.
In Kumasi, even though there are other parts which also caught it. But nevertheless, what it did to me was to say that whatever be the case, we have to rectify this situation and then strengthen our healthcare system across the nation. We can't have, it's like the schooling. We can't have a situation whereby some places have and other places don't have. It's not good for the morale of our country.
But if you can't afford it, so we can't swap. Well, we
have to be creative. This is what we've been doing. We're trying to, we're finding ways and means to do it. We have to do it. Some of these things have to be done. And as far as the Agenda 111 is concerned, very, 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 very thorough investigations have been undertaken by the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health, the government system in general, to find a way to do it. The monies for the mobilization are already in place so that the beginning can be financed, and arrangements have been made to make sure that the contractors get paid as they do their work. It can be done. Mr. President, simplify a lot of things. We have got uniform designs. We've also agreed on the bill of quantities, uniform across the country, so that you can also have uniform prices and transaction values. All those things have been centralized and clarified. So the possibility of being able then to do the work is very strong. We will do it.
I think about.
I'll be back here next year.
I think Cheba, we are sure say I feel
I'll be back next year.
You beat me near was our hospital.
I'll be back next year. I'll be back next year. Now I don't know a bit more who said they maybe I can Papa so hard to Papa so.
And yeah, I do guy I do show boy in Yamana Babe.
I don't know say I do guy I do show boy in Chelsea meeting. Some simple facts about Commander. When the factory was built, immediately after the factory was built, it shut down. This was in the NDC time.
May 2016.
May 2016. Immediately after its commissioning, on the 30th of May 2016, the factory was shut down because of lack of access to raw materials. And soon after, a transaction advisor who was appointed by the then NDC government, I think it was Price Waterhouse. Was it Price Waterhouse? Was Price Waterhouse came to try and assist the government to sell 70% of the shares in the factory.
70%.
70% of the shares in the factory. And all this is happening in the Mahama era. It's not my time. Up and down, no progress. Why? Because the fundamental issue which has dogged the Commander Sugar Factory, the absence of plan for supply of raw material, makes it a very, very difficult project.
$24 million, he says, was there for you to pick from the Indian government. You didn't.
But why? I didn't know Akuffo says the money was there before he left office. Why didn't he access it? The money was there before he left office. But in fact, it was going to be difficult to access the money because the factory itself that he had built had collapsed. Are you going to go and tell people you want some more money when the thing that you built is in itself on the back foot?
But you can say it had collapsed. I mean,
shutdown of a factory. How do you understand it?
Tell them some maintenance.
Immediately after you build the factory.
Well,
you bring it down it was shut down for lack of raw materials to feed the factory. And this is the point that I've been making, that the whole planning of the Commander Sugar Factory was wrong from the get-go. What we have been trying to do, what Alan Chamating has been trying to do, and it's a very valiant effort that he has made, is to try now to reconfigure the investment in such a way that he has now access also to raw material supplies for the factory. I think the work that has been done between him, the transaction advisor, and the board of the company is now in a situation whereby, God willing, by February next year, we will have got the Commander Sugar Factory working.
By February next year?
This is the target that we have.
Do we have raw material?
They've made arrangements now to supply the factory with the raw material.
How sustainable is that, Mr. President?
It's going to be sustainable. If the factory is going to start working, it has to be sustainable. Because when you come back to it and you understand how it is that the poor planning continues to be an albatross around our neck, the question you're asking,
your roof and your foundation. Yes, how sustainable?
How sustainable is it? Because the initial planning never properly incorporated raw material supplies into the project. Because if that had been so, we would not be in this discussion today. I think MSOBA who said Adrian Papa was doing a good job in the country.
Also now money yes I ain't no unstruction no na aya so mu ade kra no ninja no person ya adwuma foforo
I was no pay at the beginning no pay
and
where now about so adjust your mind to it and get on with it. But he's proved to be an extremely strong choice and preference in adwuma wa ye no so some says obi ehun se oba so oba be adwuma oba se oba be diagro na your friend is primaries of the MPP. By our constitution, I have a vote. The secrecy of the ballots. So in the have abandoned the road projects that we came to head. This is difficult.
How about the E-blocks?
many of them. I think I'll find an opportunity to send you that many of them are being worked on across the country.
Let me just take one, Mr. President. The one in Aflao where the chief himself has complained. Aflao Pache say e-block no oba yenya hoshi. Inti my education minister up to February say ombe yehu bibi. It's on the set.
No, minister ultimatum.
Also, I
don't go yet.
Into Obisa, no, then I'll be out of frustration, maybe your casa.
As much as possible. I've given you these examples to let you see that, on the contrary, despite the propaganda, because one of the things that I suspect there's a deficit on our part is our ability to counter the propaganda. The propaganda takes over the reality of so many aspects of our national life. It's a pity, but we will continue.